Email marketing is one of the single most important things that you can have in place for your e-commerce company to go from thousands of dollars to hundreds of thousands of dollars a month with the least amount of investment and the most amount of return on investment. And yet, with that being said, so many companies either don't have it in place at all, or they're just doing it so incorrectly and they don't understand that it's costing them hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's exactly why I wanted to put together this video, which is honestly the only blueprint you're ever going to need. And I'm going to cover A to Z exactly how you can go in and do email marketing for your e-commerce brand, including the exact strategies, the exact tips that my agency used for the past 7 years to generate some companies like Drink Delta over $800,000 in a single month from email marketing alone. No ads, nothing else contributing to that, only email marketing. So I recommend that you watch until the end of the video because I'm going to jump straight into it and give you all of the meat while pulling all of the curtains back and going into detail so you can share this with your team, or you can use this as a guidance to decide whether you need an agency or not. Alright, so this is going to be the only and the best email marketing tutorial that you will ever need to see. It's not only covering the one-on-one stuff, I'm going completely in detail. So what you're going to see in this video is I'm literally pulling back the curtains. I'm going to show you A to Z exactly how to build out the campaigns, exactly what tools to use and what platforms to use, exactly when you will need to use email marketing in your journey. And then I'm even going to go into detail on how I set up the campaigns and how you can actually build it out. This is something you can share with your employees if need be instead of getting an agency in. And I'm going to show you completely transparently what flows to build out and how to build them out. So the structures, pretty much everything strategically. This literally is a goldmine of information. Now, all I ask in return is that if you find this valuable, then give it a like. That's all you need to do. Share it with your team. But above that, if you're an e-commerce brand and you want to work with a company that knows what they're doing, then go down below and book in a demo call. Now, we are only taking on 3 more clients transparently, and I'm not using that as an urgency tactic. Just quite frankly, that's the capacity that we have right now. Now, we work strictly on performance. So if you want a company and an agency that can work on guarantee and that will not get paid unless you get paid, then go down below and book in that call. But make sure you're earning $20,000 per month overall at the bare minimum. And that's pretty much it. Now, to give you an introduction to who I am and why I know what I'm talking about and why you should trust this video. Now, for the past 7 years, I have been building an agency and I actually recently sold it. It was the #1 agency in the cannabis space completely globally, internationally. So I know what I'm talking about, and this is all we did for 7 years. Now I've started a new agency, which is Mailzy, which is obviously what you're watching right now. And it is the best talent in the entire world, focusing on e-commerce brands that are the best of the best. So if that is you, obviously go down below. Now, to give you an idea of some of the brands that we've worked with some of the top brands in the world. One of them namely being Drink Delta, which is a beverage company that does over 800K per month consistently. And to show you, you can have a pretty good look over here. So from December to November, you can get a pretty good idea of the revenue over there, to the point that around October, you can see that we were pretty much gauging around the 800K mark per month. And then have a look at one of the smaller brands that we've worked with. You can see, this is live by the way, so you can see that in December, 129K, 87K, and this is one of our smaller brands. So if that sounds like you and you want to work with a company like this, then go ahead. So as you can see, 22,000 people on their list, which is really not a lot. So if you want to be making almost 129K per month and with a smaller list, then obviously this is the right move for you. This is the video you should be watching. So you know that I know what I'm talking about. Now let's go to the real juice and the meat of the video here. So #1, when you should use email marketing and when it won't work. Now, I feel like this is important to mention because a lot of people, #1, just don't have email marketing in place, or they're just not doing it correctly. And a lot of people I see incorrectly implementing it at the wrong stages of their company lives. So first of all, you have to have at least 1,000 to 2,000 people that have purchased from you over all time. If you're looking to actually invest in email marketing, that is when you should look at it. However, if you're a newer brand, you should have it from the get-go, because the whole point is you're obviously going to try and run ads at some point. You need to have a form in place and you need to try and get people to sign up with you. And that's the way to do it. You can do it through the tools that I'm going to mention in this video. Now, make sure that you already have steady traffic coming to your website. If you don't have traffic, then your #1 priority should not be email marketing. Your #1 priority should be to get traffic coming to the website. And once you have traffic coming to the website, your ultimate goal is to convert those people. And that's where email marketing comes in. Email marketing is intended to increase your AOV. It's intended to increase the average return rates of your customers. And it's most importantly, intended for you to increase the amount of customers that actually sign up and get new customers, right? So that is the main priority, but you need a traffic or a funnel source giving you that attention, okay? So make sure you do that. Now, you do want a solid structure in place before launching ads or UGC ads. If you have launched them and you realize you don't have the best structure right now, that's exactly why this video is in place and why we have an agency that we do. So you can either get us to do it or you can watch through this video, you'll figure it out. Now, anyone, quite honestly, with a brand should have email marketing, but it should not be your number one priority of investment if you don't already have some kind of funnel coming in, right? So that's the most important thing. Now, here are the tools that you should be using for email marketing. Number one is you need to go in, and I know it's not necessarily a tool, but you need to go into your domain provider, right? So if your brand name is Liquid Death, for example, then you obviously want to go in, search for your domain provider and make sure that you have set up the correct SPF, DKIM, and DMARC reports. This is something that you can just do a quick YouTube search on, or you can obviously consult with someone. Now, aside from that, the main tool that we use and stand by, and keep in mind we don't have any affiliation with them, is Klaviyo. Now, Klaviyo is the number one tool. I know that people mostly use other tools. I know that people really enjoy some other tools like MailChimp or HubSpot or whatever it is. Now, if you are a B2B brand, I understand the need for HubSpot. I understand that that is a centralized system. But if you're an e-commerce brand, trust me, make sure that you go over to Klaviyo. Delete the other apps, delete the other programs, and make sure you do the transition. Klaviyo is so inclusive and so well integrated with everything that you will wonder why you never went there in the first place. And I'm going to show you the ease of usability. Now, the other two things that you need is Canva and Figma for the email designs. If you bring on a designer, make sure they can do it in either, because it's easily editable for you as a team, and also for as a company, just keeping everything centralized. So we use Figma for pretty much everything. The way that we set it up so that you can maybe get a good idea is, as an agency, we usually have a master file, and then per client, we will have a setup of exactly what designs we've done for them. So here is an example of some designs that we've done before and collected over the time. So for example, you can see how we've laid it out, and this way we can just translate all of these designs over to Klaviyo and build it back in the back end there. So very, very simple. You can obviously see how easy it is to use this, and then our designers just come in and they can change certain things. So you can come here, you can click on the certain elements, just change this to whatever you want it to be, and then it's so much easier. So you can either do that internally or you can get designers to do it. Now, the last tool that we use that is so important, I'm going to teach you how to use it properly instead of needing tons of employees, and so you can understand strategically how to use it in your benefit, is ChatGPT, right? So everyone uses ChatGPT, but email marketing is different, and I'll show you how to use it. Alright, so to give you a pretty good idea of the next step, which is super, super important, is setting up email campaigns. Now, setting up email campaigns is obviously very different to email flows, but if you're a beginner, I'm just going to briefly explain it. The difference between an email campaign and an email flow is drastically different. A campaign is pretty much your weekly newsletter. So it's those emails that you go over week by week. Those are your Black Friday emails, your sale emails, your bestseller emails. Whereas flows are automated sequences that you pre-build, and these are the things that remind people to order again. These are those abandoned cart emails that get sent when someone leaves their cart behind, and an automated email goes out to them. It's automated instead of you having to go and select the people to send it to, write it up, and then send it. These are evergreen emails. So that's the difference between the two. Now, with the campaigns, what you'll do is when you log into Klaviyo, you're going to see this screen. And what you want to do is you don't want to go into campaigns yet. You want to instead go ahead and build a template. The reason for this is because you're going to use the same template across every single aspect of your marketing, right? So it's going to be a branded template that matches your brand, has your tonality and everything, but most importantly has the CTAs, has all of the colors, has everything you need that you can just duplicate over campaigns and flows, so that there's omnipresence and there's unison in the design, right? So for example, I built out some of these and you can see exactly how we've done it. Now, there is kind of a strategy around it, right? So in terms of design, we follow one very simple thing. Number one, we like to have the logo. Then we have some kind of urgency, so whether that's a free shipping banner or whatever it is. Then we have the immediate title, so the main title of what it is about. So let's say that you're doing a sale. You want to make sure that it's very known that there's a 50% site-wide sale immediately. So in the first 5 seconds, you see who the email's from. You see what the email is promoting in terms of text. They visually, the the image supports that text, and then we have the urgency or the CTA or something, and then a code. So there's a very simple formula that we use that follows direction for everything. And only after those first 5 seconds of the email do we run into the rest of talking about additional information, whether it is educational or whatever the case is. Obviously, it depends on your industry, but you want to keep it shorter, you want to keep it simple, and then sometimes you want to have some dynamic blocks. But the way that we've set it up is intended that it follows that formula, and then what we do is we just take this exact template and we'll apply it to everything. So once you've built this out and put everything into individual elements, then we'll go out of here, we'll leave this, and then we'll go to the campaigns tab. Right, so you've built out your template, you've chosen some things, and they have a really good template library as well. You come into the campaigns tab, and here you will create a campaign. Now, before I show you how to create the campaign and the kind of one-on-one tips around it, what I do want to say is we like to build out the strategy board, right? So you can see exactly how we do it. We like to work quarterly. The reason for that is because we have noticed that there is a way for you to educate people, and as a byproduct of that education, they actually convert. But there's also different groups or different goals for different brands. So for example, if you know that number one, your main problem is maybe not getting as many sales as you want per customer, then that's a whole different problem compared to if your problem is that you get sales but you never get repeat purchases. So you need to figure out what your core problem is that is holding back the growth of your revenue, and you need to focus on that. So for example, if we know that our number one problem right now is not getting repeat purchases, then we know it's probably because number one, it might be a pricing thing, number two, it might be a quality thing, or number three, it might be that they don't know that there's other products that are better than the ones they ordered. So what we'll do is we'll reverse engineer that. If we know that our core problem is not getting enough repeat purchases, then we know that we need to focus on flows that focus on that, and we also need to send campaigns that remind them to reorder. So what we'll do to encourage that is we'll reverse engineer it. We'll say, okay, for the month, we want to focus on that core problem. So we reverse engineer it, and then we figure out a bi-weekly or a weekly campaign that will go out to the audience targeting that one aspect, but intentionally. So what we'll do is we'll, for example, send an email to the whole list, giving education on the product that they purchase, explaining why it's beneficial for them to buy more of that product, or what other products are similar to that product. So we'll say have a bestsellers campaign that goes out. Then the second thing we'll do is give some education on our products, maybe our why. Maybe they just need to invest into the brand a little bit more. And these are people that found us through ads and they don't know us well enough. So that's what we'll send to them. Then maybe they need a little bit more of a boost in terms of the other products they can purchase along with this one if you want repeat purchases. So if you're a bit of a higher end brand and you are selling, let's just say, high end tech, then maybe they don't know that you can get accessories along with that. So for example, the way that Crocs did it really, really, really well is it's like a once-off shoe, right? It's really high quality. You only want to buy it once. So then they added those accessories on top of it so that they get repeat purchases from their audience. And that's a really clever move. So that's how we like to strategize. So when we build our campaigns, it's very intentional. Now, when you build out a campaign, what you're going to do is you're going to come over here, you're going to see this, and you're just going to say bestsellers. Okay, bestsellers campaign, and then you'll move along. So you don't necessarily have to tag anything, but if you want to, you can. And then you'll obviously choose your audience that you want to send it to. So let's just, choose that. Obviously, this is an example. So we'll just choose that. Obviously, this is an example. Then you'll come here, you'll say next, and then you'll obviously choose your subject line, preview text, etc., etc. Now, there are some tidbits about how we set up these campaigns, right? First of all, in the subject line, we like to summarize exactly, we like to leave a bit of air of mystery, and we don't like to be too specific because then we can ostracize the rest of the audience. So let's just say that you are selling a hoodie, right? But not your entire audience likes hoodies. They just like t-shirts. Then what we instead like to sit and say is, hey, here's our best drop yet. Okay, that's it. And then in the preview text, we might say, hint, it's going to keep you a little bit warm. So it's just keeping an air of mystery instead of saying, hey, we just dropped a new hoodie, because anyone who doesn't want a hoodie is just going to ignore the email. You don't want that. You want to make sure that there's high engagement from the get-go. So it's super, super important that you go through that step of figuring out the subject line and the preview with those rules attached. Same with sales. You obviously want to make it very clear what the sale is. That is the one case that you want to say, hey, we have a once or 40% sale and it's ending in 24 hours. So you want to make sure there's some urgency. And then in the preview text, what we like to do is we'll, for example, say, get 50% off with code. and then you leave it blank so that they have to go into the email to actually get the rest of the information. So that's pretty much it. And they will say 50% sale starts now. And then we like to add, you know, an emoji or two, maybe an alarm or something. Or actually, let's just add the gift. 24 hours left, something like that, right? And you can personalize it or whatever the case is. And then what we'll do is we'll choose our template that we've gone ahead and built already, right? So we want to make it the least amount of effort for the most amount of outcome. So we've already got our branded thing. Now what we're going to do is we've got it here. Now we just want to change it up. So here we will rewrite and we'll say, so let's just say 50% off until midnight. So you're just going to change the small elements. Now, if this were editable and it wasn't a GIF, then I would go in, I would just adjust the text here. But we usually build this out in Canva, so it is adjustable. Then you just go, you replace the image, etc., and you want to make sure it's all linked. Now, that's pretty much it. That's all it takes to build out a campaign. Following that strategy, we know exactly what we need to do and what to lean towards. Then you'll go ahead, and what we like to do is we do like to run some tests. So we'll send a test email, but most importantly, make sure it is optimized for mobile. So for example, if you go into mobile, you see this, you don't want that. You just want to delete that element straight away. And then you might notice, this doesn't look the best, so I'm actually going to change this up. So you want to go make sure that it is optimized for mobile, because that's where 70 to 80% of your customer base is going to make their purchase. And that's also why another tidbit is you do not want to make anything too heavy in images or too heavy in links, because it's going to be marked as spam, number one. And number two, you also want to give them only one place to check out, right? So they just need one main point of the funnel where they need to leave the email. So one call to action. Make sure that you're not saying, hey, get these new improved this new improved sleep product, and by the way, we also have this product that you want to check out, or maybe these bestsellers. Try and keep it to one topic and one direction, and that way they don't get strayed and they don't have too many options. And also that helps you keep the email short and simple, so that it's easy to digest, number one, and number two, it loads really quickly, because you'll be surprised, similar to any website out there, if it takes even 5 seconds to load, you're going to click off because you're like impatient, right? Everyone has the attention span of a brick. So it is just a little bit easier. Now, those are pretty much all the points that you need to know about actually creating an email in the back end, which leaves me to going to the next part, which is actually split tests, right? Now, when you run a campaign, you can create a split test campaign. And the importance of this is for you to get more information about your audience. So we absolutely love running split tests. We do it all the time. We need to do it actually, because when you run a split test, you need to make sure that what you're doing is gathering information for the next time you have a sale. So for example, if we were doing this just as like an Easter sale, usually what we'll do is we'll split test something, and then when it comes to a big sale like Black Friday, we've done enough split testing that we know exactly what works and what doesn't. So for example, you'll come here and then you can obviously set up your split testing. So you want to make sure that you set up all your split testing, that you go and try different subject lines, you try different preview text, you try different images. And the best way is, the best way to get best results for your sales and when you launch new products and everything is to have a proven scalability model. And the best way to do that is to run split tests in your daily campaigns, see what works best. Is it this subject line? Is it this placement? Is it this color or coordination? You'll be surprised by how much it will actually help you. So with that being said, next up is flows. Now, flows are the single most important thing that you are going to do, right? So obviously, you want to set up flows and you want to make sure that you have the most important ones in place. Now, I'm going to show you the 12 flows that we prioritize with some examples. So for example, the welcome series is obviously a no-brainer. So we set up the welcome series, number 1. Number 2, the abandoned cart. Number 3, the abandoned checkout. These are different and not many brands know that these are different. Then we set up the browse abandonment, the post-purchase and thank you, the fulfilled order, Google review request, but now Klaviyo actually has Klaviyo reviews, so you can go ahead and set that up. The win back flow, very, very important. Site abandonment, so this is kind of like a browse abandonment, but turn this on during sales. The sunset flow, canceled order, and then refunded order. So it depends on your brand, what you want to prioritize, but these first 5 are non-negotiable. The welcome, the cart abandonment, the checkout abandonment, the browse, and the win back, I would say are the most important. The only one I haven't included yet is a VIP because it is a little bit more nuanced. But you can easily go ahead down below this video. You can download this. I'll give you the exact walkthrough, and all you need to do is give us your email, and that's pretty much it. So it's completely free. There's no cost for this. There's nothing that you have to do to actually get this. Literally just your email. We'll send it over to you in an email, and you can actually download it and apply it. So it shows you exactly how to set everything up. Now, I'm still going to do a test walkthrough for you. So for example, you want to come here, you want to create a flow. And first up, you want to prioritize your welcome flow. So you can even go and search the ones that they already have, especially if you want some text messaging as well. You can send those and you can actually combine them. But I'm just going to do a standard welcome email, okay? And this trigger is most important. It's obviously whenever someone joins this specific list. And then you go ahead and create it. So go ahead, do that. Obviously take a little bit of time, and then it will populate in the back end. Now, what you want to do is you want to follow this step by step so you can understand exactly what needs to happen. So you'll come here, you'll see that everything is pretty much outlined, exactly what triggers you need to have in place, what filters you need to have in place. So you can see, for example, the triggers when someone joins the newsletter. But what you need to make sure that you do is you need to make sure that you have some filters in place. And that way, people are not going through the flow who are not meant to be there. So for example, the way that we set it up is we'll usually have like a small welcome flow here. But what we like to do is we do like to build some kind of urgency. So for example, if this person, so let's just say this, what we like to do is they'll get the initial welcome flow or the welcome email with some kind of code. Then what we'll do is we'll wait a day, and only for these people, if they have not open the email, then we like to send a nice urgent email for them to just give them a brief reminder or whatever it is. Or you can even say someone who hasn't actually made an order. So we'll do that and then we'll say at least once since starting the flow. So this is obviously going to logically pick up, okay, anyone who has received a welcome email and they have not opened it, then we're going to send them a little bit more of an upfront email. So instead of saying, hey, thanks for signing up, instead we're saying, hey, did you get your gift? Something like that, right? And we like to make it a little bit more urgent. It's expiring in 24 hours. Okay. So obviously you can play around with that. You can choose different filters, you can choose different triggers just to make sure that you're a bit more aggressive. The way that we like to think about it is when in your welcome flow, the number one thing you want to do is you want to educate your users on why they should like your brand or why they should trust your brand. And a lot of brands don't do that. They just say, hey, here's your 10% off, and they move along. But the whole point is to use it as a nurturing sequence to make sure that you're getting more return customers. You're getting more AOV. You're educating them. So what we like to do in this process is we obviously give them their initial welcome discount, but we also explain the why of the company. Then the next email will give a bit more of a push, reminding them to use that discount. But at the same time, we're educating them about our best sellers, and we're showing them what other people are saying about the products. So you usually have a lifespan of about 2 emails before someone clicks off. That's at least what we've noticed. In the first 2 emails of any sequence or any campaign is where you'll actually convert the new user. So make sure that you are following that sequence. So that's the welcome flows pretty much described. Now, moving on to the abandoned cart. Now, the abandoned cart, you're going to have to go ahead and follow this, but essentially we think about everything as a journey. So what we like to do is we like to, as a company, step away, look at the brand that we're working with and figure out, okay, what is the journey that they go on? Is there a lot of things on the website? Are there a ton of options, a ton of bestsellers? Are there a lot of things to click on? If that's the case, then we want to simplify it in the flow process. And maybe it is an international shipping brand. If that is the case, then it's probably shipping costs that deter people at checkout. So the whole point is we want to figure out, well, this person took all the effort to go look at the products and even add it to their carts, and only at that point did they leave. That's why we want to figure out what are the potential causes of them leaving. Was it the price? Was it a slow usability? Were these people mostly on mobile or desktop? And if so, which one was it, and what was their user experience? Was it too slow for them? Was it glitchy? Was there an error? Was it maybe that we asked for too much information at checkout? Just things like that are very, very important to note. And that way you can start to figure out and reverse engineer how to program your flows. And that's exactly what we do. So we like to send tons of different conditional splits, and these conditional splits that we like to do are split tests. So we like to test with different time increments. We also like to test with different subject lines and approaches. So we like to split test and figure out, okay, if we're sending an email about the shipping times versus an email about the best sellers, which one performs better? Because then we can identify which one has the the worst issue. Is it that the shipping is too expensive? Then long term we can lower that shipping price, and we know that we've saved ourselves tons and tons of hassles of abandoned carts. But this can also recover that. So hopefully that makes sense, but I really recommend that you go ahead, you download this, and you apply all of these. Setting up a flow is super simple. You can just choose some of the templates, but make sure that most importantly, when you click over here, you have your triggers in place and your filters in place. So it's so important. But this is where about 30% of your email revenue should be coming from. So when we look at the breakdown of revenue from a brand and their email marketing specifically, we generally see across the board that it should be about 60 or 70% from campaigns and the remaining revenue coming from flows. That is a very healthy dynamic, which means that your flows are performing pretty well. If it's higher than that, that's no worries, but it could mean that your campaigns are not doing the best, or maybe you're just not sending enough. So that's a really good kind of rule of thumb to follow. All right, so now what we do to make informed decisions with the reports and, using that information. For example, if we go into this client backend, you can see that they have a very awkward split where it isn't necessarily that 60 to 40% difference, or the 70 to, the rest of the percentage difference. So what that tells us is that it's very possible that their campaigns are not performing as well, or we're not sending enough, right? So generally they'll educate us and tell us, okay, what if we started sending 1 to 2 per week instead of 1 every second week? Or what if we start sending about 2 per week instead of the 1 per week? So that will be a really good educating process. Then we also have a look and we see this spike in dates. So if there's a major spike on a day, we try to look at what campaign we sent on that day or what sale we sent on that day. That will tell us a lot about what actually happened and how we can recreate that success. So for example, if we go ahead and instead we choose the last 12 months, it will tell us a lot about which months we performed best and what we did in those specific months. So you can see April performed way better, and I know for a fact it was because of the sale. But then in May we did all right, but then June there was a massive dip. So we want to see the difference in that month and what we did less of and what we did more of. Then we also want to go ahead and we want to have a look at the analytics of the campaigns. So you can actually go have a look at the campaigns that perform the best. You can see in terms of revenue or open rates or whatever the case is. Now, if we go to have a look at revenue, you can see that we send them to the same amount of people, but what was the massive difference? Number one, the unique clicks, and number two, the unique opens. There's a massive difference in this top performing one. It's almost double, but it also got a massive difference in opens. So what we want to do is we want to have a look and see, okay, well, what was the subject line of that campaign? How can we recreate that success? We want to have a look at that. Then you want to look at the average top performing, and you can even get ChatGPT to study all of this. You can go and put all of this information into ChatGPT and ask for it and say, figure out what the difference was here. Figure out what the difference between the top performing campaigns is in conversions versus open rates or whatever it is. Then you want to go ahead and you can even study the best performing flows or whatever the case is. So usually it will tell you, so here we can see the best performing flows. You can see the abandoned cart flow has done incredibly well. So obviously we're touching on a lot of things that are really important here. Maybe we can cross-pollinate that. Maybe we can bring those concepts over to the campaigns, and maybe we want to look at the post-purchase, and then we want to look, and vice versa, look at the terrible performance. So which campaign got the least amount of opens, and why might that be? Was it too specific? Was it too broad? Was it whatever it is? We can obviously come up with assumptions, but we can also use this data to give us educated ideas. Likewise, we can figure out, okay, wait, what is the least performing flows that we have in place? All right, so it's this welcome series. Why is the welcome series the least performing? What can we do to change it? What is in there that maybe the cart abandonment doesn't have or does have? So we want to figure that out, and that's how we use all of this to really increase our options and our insights. Now, also with deliverability will tell us a lot. You want to keep your deliverability high, and the best way to do that is to make sure that you are sending to engaged users, and then obviously for your sales period, maybe you can include everyone. And this is something that we use as a rule of thumb with our campaigns as well. When we're strategically sending to our audiences, number one, we'll send an educational campaign to our engaged users. And if it makes sense and it's a very intentional educational campaign about our bestsellers, maybe we'll send it to our once ever purchased, but we don't send it to anyone else. And the reason for that is because if we're sending a very educational email to our non-engaged people, we're just wasting our effort. Whereas if we send a sales campaign, we like to send that to our non-engaged users, and sometimes we'll even exclude our engaged users because we want to reactivate those people. Which brings me to the next point about the strategy that we use, right? Now you are able to use reports to make educated decisions, but now it comes down to the segmentation and sign-up form. So the most important thing that you can do is use segmentation correctly. So what we like to do is we like to go in here and we want to be very, very specific. It depends on what e-commerce brand you are, where, who your audience is. But what we like to do is we like to create audiences per category so that we have a bunch of different lists. And then if ever we release a product that's very similar to another product that we have, so maybe we are releasing a hoodie that is one of our best, similar to one of our best-selling hoodies, we want to announce it to those similar people and get them to purchase. And vice versa, if you're selling, if you're a supplement company, maybe you have a new oil that you want to sell. The new oil is potentially the best related to people who buy gummies or people that buy pills or whatever it is. You want to sell it to them instead, so that because they're the likeliest audience to buy that product. So you can be very nuanced and very specific. But what we really like to do is we like to work by 4 different lists. Number 1, we like to create a once ever purchased. So these are people that have only ever purchased once over all time. Okay, so you just go ahead, you build out the list, and it's very, very simple. So you want to go create new, and you want to make sure you click on segment. So the segment is very important. It's containing very specific properties. So for example, purchased once over all time. Okay, so these are people that have then we can go over here, we can say placed order equals only one over all time. Okay, so that's going to give us people that have only ever purchased once but never again. So this is a very important category because we want to figure out, first of all, why, and we also want to target these people to try and increase our return rate, to increase our overall revenue. Another one that we like to create is signed up but never purchased. Okay, these are people that found you through ads. These are people that found you in some way or form, and they went through the welcome flow, they went through the sequence, or they were interested in you at some point, but they never followed through. These are people that we also want to target. Then another important one is the win back. Okay, so these are people that have placed an order at least once over all time, and they have not placed an order in the last, let's just say, 70 days. Okay, is at least 0 times in the last, let's just say 75 days. Okay, 75 days. So these are people that have purchased from us before, and maybe multiple times, maybe just once, but they haven't purchased recently. We're going to figure out why that is. Does something happen economically? Is there some kind of product that dropped off the market? Is there some product that we don't offer anymore that maybe is out of stock, that is costing us a lot of money? These are the ways we can make educated decisions. And then lastly, what we really like to do is an engaged list. These are people that are going to get our educational content. These are people that maybe we're going to give better discounts over time. These are the people that we want to prioritize as well. So those are the 4 categories we kind of like to prioritize, but then we also like to make lists per category. We like to be a little bit more nuanced. We like to figure things out in that way. Now, this is going to help drive a lot of revenue when you're more strategic with who you're targeting, because this will also give you a lot of information. If you know that you've created this win back and there is tons and tons and tons of people, so let's just say you have a list of 20,000 people, and this accounts for almost half or more of the list, you know that you need better flows in place for the win back flow, and you know that there's an issue with your repeat purchasing, so you need to target those people with campaigns. This is another way that you can be strategic with it. Now, that's super important. But one of the things I haven't touched on yet is the sign-up forms. Now, the sign-up forms you can create in the backend of Klaviyo as well, and you must make sure that it is mobile optimized and it is also desktop optimized. You can also align this with any of your flows and your campaigns that you're running. So let's just say that you're doing a Facebook ad for a free sample, or maybe you're running a Facebook ad for 20% off. You can make sure that the exact sign-up form pops up and it aligns with that. Now, one thing I highly recommend is, number one, in your sign up form, you offer some kind of free value. So you can say, and a lot of beauty brands do this, for example, you can say, hey, what is your current problem that you need help solving? And you can do a multiple choice selection. Or, hey, are you struggling with any of these? If you're a supplement brand, you'll choose sleep, you'll choose stress, or whatever it is, and then you'll give over your email, and maybe we'll send over a free sample, number one, or we'll send over a free guide on how to improve your skincare, or whatever the case is. So it's really clever to use these strategic prompts to get people's information, because it doesn't matter at the end of the day what kind of traffic you're getting. If you're not capturing that traffic, you can't retarget them. So it's so important that you have a strong flow or strong sign up form that is very clear, very minimalistic, and you can be creative with it as well. So that is a super important step in making sure that when you are sending traffic to the websites and you have email in place, you want to capture those people's information. So that's about it. And apart from that is just some strategies. Now, when we send out campaigns, we're very careful not to sell our product. What we like to do is we like to sell our why. We like to sell them on a solution to their problem as well. So for example, we obviously have majorly worked with supplement brands and health and wellness brands. Now, the reason why we were so successful is because when we would send campaigns to those people, we were not selling a supplement. What we were selling is better sleep. We were selling less stress. We were selling a better workday. We were selling better family time. So we were selling them a cure to the problems that we know majority of the people have. And that is the whole point of what we approached in our campaigns and the way that you should strategically approach it. A lot of brands go down a discount culture trap, and it's a wormhole. They kind of end up just selling themselves short. So the best way to go about it, that a lot of brands don't think about, is you need to go ahead and you need to talk about the cure that you're giving people. So you're not selling a hoodie, you're selling warmth. The same way that Nike isn't selling sports clothes, they're selling a lifestyle. They're selling the fact that you can also feel like an athlete to you, right? They're not selling just leggings. They're not selling shoes. Sure, in concept, that's what they're selling. But at the end of the day, you need to figure out how you can strategically approach the sales point that these people convert higher. And you can do that through emails. That's why it's so powerful. So apart from that, I just wanted to give you some, getting off of some blocked lists. Now, when you want to get off of blocked lists, the best way to do it is you want to search your email on an email tester. So for example, we will come here and we'll say email tester, and I like to use this one. So what you'll do is you're going to copy this. You'll copy this, and you've already built out your campaign in the back end. So what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and you're actually going to send this campaign. So you'll come here, you'll send this campaign to this specific email, and then you're going to check your score. From there, it's going to tell you what is actually wrong. Are you on any spam lists? Is there anything that you can do to avoid that? That way you can actually go and fix these problems. Now, the second thing that happens to a lot of brands is they're oversending and they are using bad practices, which means that their deliverability is damaged. The best way for you to tell whether your deliverability is damaged is by looking at all the campaigns that you've sent, and if you have a massive drop in open rates or a massive drop in engagement, it's very likely that it's not even landing in their inbox. The best way to avoid that to begin with is obviously make sure you're sending shorter emails that are maybe a little bit more text-based, less links, less images, etc., etc. But if you're already past that point, the best thing for you to do is you need to download an email platform like instantly.ai, or the one that we use, but we don't know whether it's the best one. And you can just go set it up and you can warm up your domains again. So generally what I would recommend is that you set up multiple email aliases under the same domain and you set up another domain. So for example, if we go have a look at Liquid Death, because I will go show you their website as well. Let's just say that we are getting emails from Liquid Death, right? So we know that it is liquiddeath.com. What you will do is you'll set up a liquiddeath.co, a liquiddeath.ai, a liquiddeath. Whatever it is. Then you'll also maybe set up a liquid-death.com, and you'll make them all forward to this domain, but you want to set up multiple emails underneath that. And what you're going to do is you're going to warm up those domains. So if ever your domain gets damaged, you can easily swap it out and make sure that the sending is very, very healthy still. And then you'll go set up that domain in the Klaviyo backend. Or if you just want to stick with one, so liquiddeath.com, for example, what you'll do is if your deliverability has been damaged, you want to start sending less immediately. You want to send more text-based emails. number 2. Number 3, you want to send to your engaged audience only, strictly for at least a month or 2. That is exactly what you're going to go ahead and do. And then the 4th thing that you're going to do while simultaneously working on that is you're going to go warm up your domain on instantly.ai. There's some videos on the YouTube that you can go watch how to do that, but those are some basic practices. You don't need a consultation. You don't need to pay anyone tons and tons of money to figure out what the problem is. If your deliverability is low, go look at Google Postmaster to get a pretty good idea of what the score is. And then from there, you can make an educated decision. Is it really bad? Then maybe we just need to, step it off, swap the domains. If it's not too bad, but it's not necessarily going into the inbox, then you can do those best practices. And that's pretty much it. So yeah, if you need anything else, you can obviously book in a call with us, or you can reach out to my email. But for now, I would definitely recommend that you go ahead, book in a call if you think that you could benefit from an agency doing all of this for you. But with that being said, I hope it was valuable, and I hope you can share this with your team, and I'll see you in the next one.